Hey, what's going on, guys? So we talked a little bit in the room about Bitcoin this morning. I did a video and it didn't turn out very well, so I'm doing another one. And I wanted to wait until the close because it's key how price forms towards the end of the day. A lot can happen intraday. So we care about monthly closes, we care about weekly closes, we care about how the market closes towards the end of the day. Now, obviously, blockchain doesn't really have a close as far as the session goes, but when the traditional markets kind of stocks close, bonds close, the forex market slows down around 5 o'clock, 6. So you kind of see the same energy come out. But this is what I wanted to talk about. So earlier today, we had the run up towards 7,500. We talked about 2 weeks ago, the end of October. We even did some podcasts about 7,500 was the next big area once we went through 5,000. And then that was just really, we don't really get into targets and specifics and using technicals. I mean, I'm okay with that stuff. I really like using a regression channel, but to me, it's just the market wants to go to 10,000, 7,500 is pretty much halfway between that and the breakout through 5. So that's kind of the next area that you think about. Traders will trade around the big figures, big whole numbers. So I'm not surprised that we failed right at 7,500. And we signaled sell this morning pretty much right on the high. I sold above 7,200. So this was another leg of profit taking for us. I mean, we're still bullish, still playing a core long, but you got to trade it around, right? So a couple of things to point out here. If some of you aren't using my pie line concept, this is a simple, very simple but powerful concept, and it's something that I just kind of stumbled upon an observation. But I wanted a moving average that was longer than the 200. That's what this is here. So I use what I call my pie line. It's a 314 period moving average. So we're big into cycles, right? I'm not going to get into the origins of our model, but we're big cycle guys. Time is a huge component that you have to understand in trading. And so pi being 3.14, out the digits is the perfect cycle, perfect circle. So 3.14 times it by 100, I use 314 period moving average, and this average works great on any time frame. So today is a perfect example, and for those of you that don't know, I mean, I have 10, 15 years trading both on the equity side and then 10 years specifically on fixed income side. And of all the hedge fund traders I work with, all the big bank traders, nobody has this average unless they learned it from me. And most traders, if they use moving averages, which most of them do, they're 50. They don't go out past the 200 period moving average. So this isn't something that's self-fulfilling prophecy that everybody is buying because it was back at pi. This is a concept that, I mean, I started this concept. So that's not the reason the market held. It's just an uncanny thing that these moving averages are tracking a certain amount of units over an average, right? But they're also tracking X amount of time that's gone by in that calculation. So price will cycle away from pi and then it comes back to pi, and you can see these failures and it'll bounce off pi, it'll fail at pi, and it happens all the time. Different markets, different time frames. But here's a great example. This is a 15-minute chart. After we had the run up, took profit, this was a fast move down, you held pi. When you look at the 5-minute chart, even a little bit faster, the initial move down even held pi. That was right here. Okay, down, bing, bounced right off, what is that, 67.50, and then had a bounce, and then obviously we broke it. You held it again here later this afternoon. So that's a great, if you want something free to add into your trading, I just shared that with you. I mean, that's worth a lot of money right there. Now, how you work your position and how you trade around the pi line is a completely different topic. I mean, you're not going to learn that in one video. But let's talk big picture. We pretty much went vertical here and then really backed off hard. Now, had we closed the day down at the near the lows of the day, this would have been looking pretty bearish. You would have had a pretty big topping tail and everything else. But the market's kind of, it went through that little bit of a temper tantrum there. There was quite a bit of selling, but the bids came back in. So we're still this was a pretty strong close. If we look at the 4-hour, you get a lot of questions today. Well, where should I buy back? And you got to know your time frame. And if we were day trading, if we were looking at that 5-minute chart, there's a lot of different spots where you could have scalped the market around today. I don't know how many people are really day trading this market unless you have some leverage or on the institutional side. It's not really there for retail traders. But anyway, from an intermediate term perspective, we've had a pretty good run, guys. These are levels you want to be taking profit. These aren't levels you want to be initiating buys, right? The time to do that was back here on the retest of the 5,000 breakout area. This was a good pullback. I didn't buy anything here. And then we had a little minor breakout here again, 6,200. We could have added back there. So still core long. I've taken off about 75% of what I was long. And then the next place to buy that would be on a dip. I don't know where my stochastic indicator went. Guys, let me reload this chart. Hopefully this works. There we go. Okay, so when we go to the 4-hour, it's not just about what price level do you want to buy back. You got to look at the cycle too. So we might just go sideways and the 4-hour cycle comes down. I'll be a buyer, most likely. But this, you see, the cycle's high. We want to be buyers here, here. We got to let this come down before I want to put a bigger chunk on. Whether that's, we've been riding the 8 here pretty well. If we break this 8, maybe that's closer to the bands down here. We just got to kind of see. But from a timing perspective, it's take profits, and you can be a little bit more patient on when to buy back on the bigger pieces. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, in markets, I've talked about this before, but there's a frequency, an 8.6 frequency that goes through the markets. And it's not the only cyclical frequency, but it's one that's pretty consistent. The global business cycles on an 8.6 year frequency. 2007, the global business cycle peaked, and Dow Jones real estate peaked to the exact month with the business cycle. All right, 2004 years at the bottom. 2011, you had commodities peak, and so markets don't just make highs and lows with the cycle. If that was the case, you would just have a flat sideways market. You would never go higher. So that's not what we're talking about. These are turning points in time. So you got to see which markets everything's connected, what lines up with different points in the cycles. But commodities peaked here. Your gold peak was in 2011 at the bottom of the cycle. We came back up. Here we are 8 years later, September 2015. We had to the week, you had Syria invade, or you had Russia invade into Syria, and that's been a big focal point of this move down. But anyway, so there's an 8.6 frequency, and when we look at the weekly level of Bitcoin, this is played out really nicely, actually. All right, so here, guys, you can watch this. This low, right? This pivot low on the weekly here. Count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 was the high of that move. 8 weeks. You had a 2 to 3 week pullback, which is pretty standard reaction in markets. That's a time frame that's pretty typical. And then, of this, the low of this move, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here we are with the 8th week up again. So that just tells you from a time perspective. I mean, this has had a pretty good run. I wouldn't be surprised if we do have a kind of a minor pullback here from 7,500. All right, and then who knows? We either rally again, or if you break the 8, then you can talk about maybe a deeper pullback. Anyway, from a timing perspective, guys, these cycles exist. All right, so just another reason to be taking some profit up here. We've had a good call. That was it. Get above 5,000. The next spot, 7,500. Pretty much just failed exactly there today. So we'll see what tonight's session brings in tomorrow. But definitely take some profit here, guys. Stay core long. And we'll keep trading around.